Excellent. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you who are attending our next CryoSpark webinar series webinar on this one. This is a fun topic for us on Microsoft SharePoint Premium 101 in an hour. Yeah, I know. I agree. This one's going to be, there's so much to do. Recently at a conference, myself and one of my colleagues, we did a whole day workshop on this. So yeah, it's going to be great. So everyone, thank you for joining us. My name is Eric Overfield. I am the CIO over here at CryoSpark, and we've got a lot planned for you today. We've got a wonderful panel of people that I definitely enjoy working with and really know this stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. Next slide, please. If you want to learn more about CryoSpark and who we are, if we haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, we are your Microsoft experts. Anything Microsoft, primarily around Microsoft 365, Dynamics, Power Platform, Azure. If you're using Microsoft technologies to help with your digital workspaces and you need assistance, we're here to help you. Easy to find us, cryospark.com. We can reach out to you via email, call us, emails, all the good stuff. We really want to help you build those employee experiences for your organization because let's face it, we are in our organization a lot. We all use technology, it seems. Let's make technology work for everybody. All right, just before I introduce everyone, we do have some housekeeping to go over here. Questions. This is one of the reasons why you're here is to get your questions answered, and we do the best we can. With all the material we have, though, the best way to ask questions, there's a Q&A tab or question tab at the top of your GoToWebinar app that you're running. Please ask them there. The three of us, the three panelists and myself, we're here to answer those questions. We'll do everything we can. We'll see what we can do on answering them in line verbally as well. But please ask those questions as they come in and as you think of them, and we'll handle them. We'll hand them for you. We do have a handout here at the end, or it should be there. So check, there's a document panel as well to get some of the extra materials from this particular webinar. And we do record this. We do make it live. We do make it available, shall I say, later the following week in case you want it. We want to give the benefit for you all being here live to get those questions answered, to be able to see it. For those of you who are listening to the recording, yeah, you should listen to us live because that's how you get even more value out of the content that we provide. And then lastly, there is a survey we have at the end as well. It's a very simple survey. We want your feedback. We're doing these for you. Like, we're doing all that we can to share the knowledge that we know. Help us make these webinars, these workshops, the material that we give to you better. And you do that by providing feedback. So let's get started because we've got so much here that we want to cover. I've got three wonderful colleagues that I highly enjoy working with. I work with all of them near daily, and these are some great, smart, wonderful people. So yeah, Jed, Corey, and Deepa, if you would go ahead and introduce yourselves and take it away. Let's dive into this material.
Thanks, Eric. I would normally say ladies first, but I appear to be the one on the left of the screen, so we'll go that way. My name's Jed. I am the practice lead for modern work here at CryoSpark. I am old. You can see the grey in the beard, and that means I have been working with SharePoint since it was invented. Yes, SharePoint 2001. Ooh, shudder. Thank goodness it's a lot better now. Over to you, Corey.
Right, my name's Corey. I am a developer lead here at CryoSpark, and I've been doing SharePoint developing, branding way back in the day, and consulting for the last decade and a half or so.
Okay, I think it's my turn. I'm Deepa Murjmalani. I'm a cloud solution consultant with CryoSpark. I've been working on SharePoint for last 10 years now, and I just love developing. Back to you, Eric.
Yeah, look, it's back to me. Thank you, friends. Next slide, please. All right, why are we here today? Well, mostly you're here to hear from these two most excellent colleagues of mine who are far cleverer than I am. But what are we going to talk about? SharePoint Premium, or as we often call it, the artist previously known as Syntex. Although, to be fair, it's not all Syntex. There's been a lot of new stuff added as well. So we are, as Eric said, going to deliver an awful lot of content as an overview. We will have some news at the end about a much deeper dive you can join us with. But for the next hour, we want to try and at least touch on all the major functionality. So what we like to do before we dive in is run a poll. So let's do that. Ta-da! Okay, what you should see on the screen. There he is. Prem's here to lead the poll.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Jed. Thank you, Corey and Deepa. So, hello, everyone. My name is Prem from CreoSpark team. And before we get going with the session, I think we need to take a poll. As you can see on the screen right now, a lot of engagement. I can see 48% of the people are already voted. So the question is anyone using SharePoint Premium already? Options are yes, in production, just playing with it, we are thinking about it. What is SharePoint Premium? So our experts here will dive into the advanced features and the functionalities of SharePoint Premium, so which is going to be very exciting, and it's very new to me, and I'm excited to learn about it, right? So 67% of the people voted, and you can see it right now, and 14 people are saying, what is SharePoint Premium? So Jed, I'm gonna give it back to you and Deepa and Corey to talk about more about SharePoint Premium.
Excellent, thank you. I mean, even for the 3 who are in production, I hope we'll come up with something useful today. And 3's not that many, really. But for those who are just playing with it, thinking about it, or I don't know, what is SharePoint Premium? Hopefully, you will all go away with something good to remember and take away from today. So, shall we have the agenda slide, please, Prem? Why, thank you, sir. So we've split the agenda into the categories or buckets that Microsoft tends to use when talking about the features and functionality of SharePoint Premium. So we'll do the quick intro to the product or product line as a whole. And then we're going to look at content experiences, content assembly, content processing, content governance, and hopefully we'll still have time left to do best practices and tips and some questions and answers. However, if at any point you feel like, I mean, I'm sure Corey and Deepa are way too professional to do this. If you feel I'm speaking too quickly to get these slides through, please ask in the Q&A and send me to slow down. Alrighty, next slide, please. So, an introduction to what is SharePoint Premium? Well, it's content services, but reimagined, really. The point of SharePoint Premium is to help you manage your content, but also to process it, and to do this with your unstructured content at scale, like considerable scale, with the help of AI. So in this case, that AI is machine learning, and machine learning models, and we're going to go into that. It's really, from the AI perspective, this is a great way of getting your content ready for co-pilots. So it's a kind of virtuous circle of AI. You can use the old school AI, which is machine learning, to process your content and get it nice and clean and tagged with lots of metadata and organized, which really helps the co-pilots to give you good answers. But SharePoint Premium includes other things. So under the governance heading is the SharePoint Advanced Management, or SAM, and it also includes a few other bits which we'll touch on in a second. Another key point is the majority of these services are available now as pay-as-you-go. So this isn't about getting a SharePoint Premium seat license. It's about getting set up to use pay-as-you-go and based on the volume of content that you process. And luckily for us, Microsoft provide lots of calculators and things to help us figure out what those costs might be. Next slide, please. So what we're touching on, as we've said, is SharePoint Premium, specifically the content processing, the content experiences, etc. What we're not touching on today is M365 Backup and M365 Archive, or SharePoint Embedded. And I just make that obvious up front because there's so much to go through today. Even though these other products are mentioned in the same breath normally, and it's as you can see on the diagram, they all fit together very well, we certainly won't have time to go through those today. However, stay tuned. I'm sure we might come back to those in the future. Next slide, please, Prem. So this is our diagram of all the parts and all the bits for what constitutes the, probably better described as a product line than a product. So SharePoint Premium as a product line, the content experiences. So we want to boost our productivity with high value documents and solutions based around those, end-to-end high value content management, or content lifecycle management, if you like. We have, for instance, the new agreements app within Microsoft Teams. We have native Microsoft Word experiences for high value documents, so things like e-signatures. We have AI-driven deviation analysis for rules and clauses within documents and the document hubs. For content processing, well, this is more about optimizing the content to derive value by using AI-driven automation. So we've got things like autofill columns, taxonomy tagging, content queries, translation, which is a great one for global business, annotations, and also the connection with Purview, where we come to automated classification and security. And then that leads us nicely into content governance. So they're using the powerful tools provided to manage the content lifecycle, control access, and get a grip of things like oversharing, which get mentioned a lot when we talk about Copilot readiness. So we're going to dive into all of these areas, but first let's just look at how Microsoft categorizes them into the buckets on the next slide, please. So as you can see, we have those content experiences, content processing, content governance. And this is how Microsoft categorizes the different features and functionality under those headings. And that's how we're going to look at them. So next one, please. All right, licensing, as I touched on before. So this is important. So this is pay as you go. So through an Azure subscription, based on exactly how documents you processed, that's what you're going to get billed for. Much more flexible than a per seat licensing arrangement. As I said, there are calculators available on the Microsoft websites, so you can go and have a look and play with that and put in some numbers, and then you get a good estimate of what your monthly transaction costs might be. So it's, you know, I personally think this is great and much more flexible. And so it's allowing you to estimate upfront. And I mean, let's face it, sometimes we blow through estimates, right? But you will see that in your monthly bills, and you'll be able to understand whether you need to dial something back or whether you can afford to process even more documents. So big change in the licensing to a much more flexible model. Next one, please. But what are we going to use it for? Well, that's actually quite a conversation, because as we've pointed out, there are so many features and functionality within the heading of SharePoint Premium. There is pretty much something for everybody. So we've got some potential use cases on the screen there, but also this nice kind of matrix of the customization versus effort. Where do you need to do more customization to make use of the tool? Where do you need to put in less effort? What's more out of the box? So for instance, image tagger or taxonomy tagger. So of course, we are consultants. What we'd actually love to do is to talk to you about where the use cases might be in your organization, because that could be an hour's webinar of its own. And so we will let you screenshot this, leave it on screen for a second if you want to snag it. But yeah, we would absolutely love to have some proper conversations with anybody who's interested about where the real use cases to find value would be within your organization. So next one, please, Prem. So adoption, there are lots of resources available to you online to help with adoption, including that readiness checklist. And a good thing right now, we've just got, June. We haven't really got that much left of May, have we? Through June 2024, they were giving away some free capacity so you could play. I'm not sure actually if any of my colleagues know or if Eric knows if that goes to the end of June. But we should look that up and see. You might still have some time left to avail yourself of that offer. So that's been a very quick run through the overview because we've got some real in-depth slides coming from the real experts now. So I will hand it over to, I think it's Corey first for content experiences.
Yeah, thank you, Jed. So content experiences, just on the slide here, you can see SharePoint Premium boosts productivity with end-to-end high-value document solutions in the Documents Hub. These capabilities are going to allow you to collaborate on documents internally, get them to a place where they're ready for prime time, and then share those files externally with your business partners or clients. Now, from what we've looked into and what we've read, the enhanced content experiences in SharePoint Premium includes things like upgraded file viewer capabilities. We'll look at that today. There's going to be an app in Teams to work with contract statements of work, orders, invoices to share internally and externally. There'll be some AI-driven analysis, SharePoint e-signature, and a coming Documents Hub, I hear, for customers and partners. Now, some of those aren't in preview yet, so we haven't been able to look at them and I can't talk about them, but there are some exciting features I want to talk about today. So Prem, if you go to the next slide, please. All right. To have great content experiences, you first need content. So this is where content assembly comes in. It's kind of a really powerful mail merge. If you don't know what mail merge is, you are lucky. So what I'll say instead is that content assembly is the modern SharePoint way of creating Word documents from a template. Next slide. Thank you. All right, so think of all the documents that you've been creating all this time by going to an existing document, doing file save as, file save as, file save as, and then doing various find and replaces to change a name here and an address there. And maybe these are contracts or invoices, sale pitches, some other kind of agreement. Maybe you've been tasked to make a personalized document for everyone in your organization and need to swap out their name and picture and email and all that. If your day-to-day work or part of your day-to-day work is making these kinds of repetitive documents, then you're going to love content assembly. Next slide, please. So with content assembly, you will first define fields inside the Word document that you want to fill out with your data. And the types of data you can add, there's dates, names, images, numbers. You can set up a manage metadata term set for values. You can even build a table in your document that pulls in data that will be selected from a different SharePoint list. So you'll set this all up, you'll save it, and the modern template that you'll create will get saved inside your SharePoint document library. Let's jump to the next slide. So this might be a little hard for you to see, but this is what it looks like when you create a new document from the template. So it'll pull up your template. On the right side, it's just like filling out a new item for a SharePoint list, but you'll fill out those form fields, plug in the different data that you want, and SharePoint Premium will then pop out a document with those fields filled in. So no more find and replace. You can see how easy it is just to fill out a form. Thank you. And there's more. You can get really fancy. There's a Power Automate flow with, there's a preview action that you can add called generate document using Microsoft syntax. And by using that, you can then create a new document based on whatever data is pulled into Power Automate. Now, if you've even got a faint glimpse of what Power Automate is, you might know that it opens up to so many potential data sources. And so you could hook up your choice of data source for generating this document in SharePoint, whether it's a Microsoft form, an Excel sheet, some other data source, anything that's available through Power Automate's connections. Next slide. All right, there are a few more things I want to emphasize about content assembly. So obviously you can automate this creation of their standard repetitive documents, especially when you build your own flow to do that. Right now you can only support, or Microsoft Premium only, mixing all up, SharePoint Premium only accepts Word documents for content assembly. When you make your template, the original document is untouched. The template you make will get saved in the forms directory. And so here's a key point is the templates are only associated within a specific document library. So they're not going to apply across all your SharePoint sites. You have to make them inside your library and use them inside that library. When you have a template, if you update the template, it won't impact any existing documents that you've made already. So, once you use a template, that's the way it is. You can update the template and that will just impact any new documents you make. A little side note, bulleted lists are not currently supported, but you can add a data table, which is pretty cool. Again, you can tie that in with the SharePoint list and pick what fields you want or pick what items you want from the list to show in that table. And then a nuance for Power Automate and using it in this way, you could theoretically set up a Microsoft form, share that form with other people. They can fill out the form. Your flow will then build out those documents in the library, and the person who filled out the form doesn't even need access to that library. So hopefully this kind of blows your mind a little bit, open to see all the possible things that you can have with content assembly. So moving on to the next slide.
And I think on the Power Automate connectors, there's now over 1,000 connectors in the library. So that really opens up those data sources.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, so next, moving quickly here. Document translation is going to be very helpful in our global workplace. Maybe next slide, the screenshot. So when you're inside the document library and select a file and you have SharePoint Premium enabled, there is an additional file command for translate. And that shows at the bottom there. So next slide. A box will pop up to allow you to pick the language and initiate the translation. It does take some time, so go get a cup of coffee, do some other work, multitask, let SharePoint Premium do all the work for you. When you check back later, you'll see that there is a new copy of the document that's been translated for you. And in my little screenshot there, you can see it has an _FR for French. There is actually going to be a out-of-the-box way to easily set up a rule so that per library, so that you can automatically translate documents that are in the folder. And there's just a few little notes here. There's limitations on the files that can work. This is only applying to documents, not to text and images in the document. So it'll translate the words, but not images with words. And yeah, I think that's maybe all I have for that. We can move on to the next one. All right. With SharePoint Premium, there are, well, even before SharePoint Premium, there's a lot of new upgrades that have happened in the document file viewer this spring. You might have seen them in your own tenant. So there's a lot of options for what kind of file types you can preview. Like you can look at Adobe files and different image types, text and code files. I think you can even look at 3D modeling files if you really wanted to. But with SharePoint Premium, you'll get some extras. And so one is annotations. And I guess a little backstory, when you're working with a file that isn't an Office document, there really isn't a great way right now to collaborate. I end up having to take screenshots and snippets of this and that to forward them back and forth in email or over Teams to, please tweak this, please tweak that. So SharePoint Premium gives an annotations feature so that you can draw on and annotate files in the file viewer. I think we'll have a screenshot of that on the next slide. Thank you. So this is an example of an Adobe Illustrator file. And in the document preview pane, so when you go to the library, click on the file, this will pop up. And there's now an annotate button there. When you click that, these little tools pop up on the side to give you highlighter and drawing tools. Now, I would really love it, Microsoft, if you added a text tool to easily type on there, but I could see this working really well with touchscreen. So you can see I've added the ever lovely comment of make it pop. And then that way my collaborator who has access to this document library can look at this and know what to do. There are some limited file formats available right now, and you actually can't download or merge these annotations, which is a plus or minus, I guess. These annotations are not in the document itself, so you can safely download the document and it won't be on there. So it's really only for collaborating within SharePoint. This also comes free, by the way, so there's no pay-as-you-go costs, which is nice. Okay. The file viewer pane is also where you can find the merge and extract PDF capabilities of SharePoint Premium. Let's go on to the next screen. This also comes without pay-as-you-go costs. Just comes with SharePoint Premium when you have it set up. And so in the file viewer, you can see new commands for merge PDFs and extract pages. And it's exactly as you would think. You can combine multiple PDFs into one file, or you can take a PDF, multi-page PDF, and pull out pages from there and make new PDF documents out of those. This is available in all document libraries. Just a couple limitations I found. You can't directly reorder pages, so you would have to extract and then merge, and you can only merge entire documents. So we'll see if there's improvements later, but all the same, it's a great way to do this without needing an extra license for working with PDF files somewhere else. All right, next slide. All right, SharePoint e-signatures is up next. Can you go to the next slide, please? All right. I think that right now it's only available in the US. We heard rumors of Canada maybe really soon, coming out in the next few months or so. But I think it's going to be a really important piece of all the document sharing and collaboration that SharePoint Premium is rolling out through, again, the coming soon document hubs and Teams app. So with e-signatures, you can stay within SharePoint. You can create signature requests for your PDFs to get signatures from internal or external signers. This is, yeah, I think see a lot of use coming from that. And yeah, so as I think hopefully building the story to show you how you can see that SharePoint Premium is just expanding the way you work with documents like contract and service agreements. You've got the initial creation with content assembly. You've got these ways of collaborating together, and then all the way through getting documents signed. One more piece. Can we go to the next slide? All right. Last thing on my side is content query. And this is an improved search experience inside of document libraries right from the top search bar. And I have been wanting something like this for a while. Can you go to the next slide? When you're inside the document library, at the top search bar, any keywords you type in there would search the library. But with SharePoint Premium, there is a little icon at the top right that shows up. And if you pop that open, it brings down a powerful search tool. So this is like what they call their content query search interface. You can search on the kind of regular fields that they have here, but you can actually add more options as well to add additional filtering and search options against the columns in your document library. This is going to be so great for ourselves, for the clients that we work with, where they have so many files and just have a hard time managing the search options. So if you have good metadata to search against, this is amazing. Now, maybe you don't have great metadata yet, but the great thing is that SharePoint Premium can help you get useful metadata in your document library so you can actually use this content query advanced search feature. That is my segue for handing this off to Deepa, who's going to introduce you to our next topic.
Thank you. That was a nice segue. All right, so now we'll look at content processing. So Businesses run on content. According to Microsoft, about 1.6 billion documents are added daily to Microsoft 365. Today, organizations spend $46 billion per year for storing and managing content, and it's estimated that by 2025 there will be more than 1 billion terabytes of content. This content is often unstructured, locked up in repositories, or even worse, sitting on paper in a warehouse. Time spent looking for the right content can impact the productivity by 11 to 14%. With SharePoint Premium's content processing feature, you can automate your content-based processes, that is, capturing the information in your business documents and transferring that information into working knowledge for your organization. Next slide, please. All right, so the first feature that we will explore in content processing is document processing. Next slide, please. Just a second. I lost my slide. All right. Microsoft Syntax is content processing, understanding, and compliance service that uses intelligent document processing and artificial intelligence and advanced machine learning to automatically and thoughtfully find, organize, and classify documents in your SharePoint libraries, Microsoft Teams, OneDrive for Business, and Exchange. Leveraging pre-trained model to quickly extract key metadata from contracts, invoices, and receipts is not only the thing that you can do with SharePoint Premium's document processing. You can also build your own custom models to process unstructured, structured, and free from documents such as insurance forms, proposals, and more. And then you can just apply these models on document libraries, and whenever you add a new document, the model will extract and place extracted data in the documents. Next slide. Now let's explore the models in detail. The models are divided into two categories: custom models and pre-built models. Pre-built models, as the name suggests, are already built and they allow the metadata extractions from the documents of types, contracts, invoices, and receipts. For any other type of document, you would configure a custom model. The model that you would select would depend on whether a set of documents that you are trying to process are unstructured documents, that is, they don't seem to have a fixed format. Metadata that you want to extract exists consistently on all the documents, and it is preceded by or followed with some set of fixed keywords. Or, if you would decide if you want to build a structured model if the documents that you're trying to process are pretty much the same, the layout is the same, and you would use the freeform document model if the documents that you are trying to process are not structured, the layout is not same, and the information that you're trying to extract is available on the document at random. Now, in the next slide, we will look at the examples of each of these documents and where you would use what model. All right, so let's first look at the example of document for which you would use structured document processing. Let's say you are a wealth management company, and each month you get financial portfolio statements from your different clients, which your analyst team has to process and manually enter on SharePoint. They have to get the client number from these documents, the non-registered investment and registered investment. So all of this is highlighted in red on the documents. So as you can see that on the left, the client number is appearing where there is a number 5, right? And on the right, it is appearing where you can see it has been denoted with number 1. So it is the metadata is present, but it is at the different locations. But the client number, the actual client number is actually being preceded with the words client number. Same is true for registered investment and non-registered investment. So this is the example of the documents where you would use the structured document, or also known as teaching method. With SharePoint Premium's unstructured document processing, you can teach the model to classify the document by using a classifier. In this have been that are in the green text box. So they say that financial portfolio statement. So you can create a classifier, and then the classifier from the bunch of documents will be able to identify the financial statements that it should be processing. And then you would add the extractors to say that, okay, extract registered investment and non-registered investment. So this is how you would teach to extract that you are after. Next slide, please. All right. So next, let's look at the example of documents for which you would use free from model. So as you can see that, this is the rental lease agreement document. On the left, the agreement has paragraphs, right? And on the right, the agreement is in a tabular format. So let's say you want to extract the monthly rent that the person is going to pay, which on the document which is on the left appears on the 5th paragraphs. So you can see $1570 per month, right? And on the document that is on the right, it is appearing on the 3rd line of the table. So here you can see that the format of both of these documents is not fixed, the layout is not fixed, and the data is also appearing at random places on the document. So for such documents, you would use free from document model. The free from document model internally uses AI builder, and which helps it extract the data. Right. So next slide. All right. So lastly, there are the example of documents for which you would use structured document, or also known as layout method. So as you can see that the document that you have on the left and the document that you have on the right, they are pretty much the same document, and the format is fixed. The address is appearing at the same place, the date, the quotation number, the customer ID, everything is appearing at the same place. And so for these type of documents, you would use the layout method, also known as structured document model. The advantage of layout method is that it is also able to work with, it is also to extract the data from the tables, and then it is also able to store that information that it has extracted from the tables into a SharePoint list. Another advantage of layout method is that it can process more than 100 languages. Right, next slide. So the next question that comes to mind is, where would you build them, right? So all these models are built in SharePoint site, which is known as a content center site, and they follow a very similar build process.
Hey,
First, you
Deepa.
select which model you want to create, then you add at least, sorry,
Deepa, to interrupt. We're getting quite choppy audio from you. Do you want to turn off your camera and see if that improves the bandwidth?
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry for interrupting your flow.
No worries. How is it? Is it fine now?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, sorry. All right, so yeah, so the next question that comes to mind is how you will build these models, right? So all these models are built in a SharePoint site, which is known as Content Center, and they follow a very similar build approach. First, you select which model you want to create, and then you add at least 5 training files. If you are using the teaching method, then you will also have to upload a negative example file. From or structured document processing and want to be able to process more than one language, or want to be able to process different languages, then you'll have to upload 5 files of each language that you want the model to be able to process. Then you would specify the type of data that you want to extract and tag the documents. If you are using teaching method, you will also add classifiers so that it is able to classify the document from bunch of documents. And then you would add extractors to help the model to find the metadata that you are after. And at the end, you will train the model and then you will publish the model. And then you would apply this model onto the document library where the documents will be uploaded. Right, next slide. Okay, so the next feature that we are going to explore under content processing is OCR, that is optical character recognition. Next slide. OCR allows you to extract handwritten or printed data from image files and make it available in search index. It needs to be turned on in SharePoint Microsoft Admin Center, and you can specify what sites it should be enabled for. Or alternatively, you can turn it on for all the sites and then it becomes available on all the document libraries on your tenant. OCR supports more than 150 languages and various image formats that you can see on the screen. So it supports PNG, JPEG, ARW, and all those other formats. But there are certain limitations when it comes to OCR, which are it cannot process, the file size should be less than 50 MB. The file should be of certain dimensions, and the biggest, the thing that you should keep in mind is, OCR will only be able to process which are added after it has been enabled. So it would only be able to process those images which have been added on the document library once it has been enabled. Right, next slide. All right, so let's look at OCR in action. Let's say you have a lot of images and you want to look for image where word togetherness has been used. Once you have uploaded the image in OCR enabled library, it will automatically extract the text and add it into extracted text column, making it available for search index. So that is the second screenshot. You can see that it has extracted the information from the image that we uploaded. So it's under the extracted text, you can read that it says what to expect with the people first technology partner and so on. So now it extracted the data, right? And then it has made it available for the search index. So then when you look for it or when you search for it using the search, and then you will see the corresponding image as a result. So which is on the next slide. Yeah, so we then again ran the search for the word togetherness, and then it rightfully identified that image and showed that result. Right, next slide. The next explore in content processing are image tagging and taxonomy tagging. Metadata plays crucial role in search relevance and accuracy. If the content is not sufficiently tagged or categorized with descriptive metadata, users may struggle to find it through search queries. This results in abandoned queries, users not trusting the system to find what it is supposed to do, and more. Image tagging and taxonomy tagging will help with just that. It will help improving the search index. It will also help with the compliance. So, once as it is going to automatically tag the images and the documents, you won't have the compliance issues where your documents are missing the important tags. Next slide. All right, so now let's explore image tagging in detail. As stated, the AI-driven assistant helps in understanding and finding tags in images. And then it automatically tags the images with identified tags, which are stored in image tags metadata column. So on the screen, in the example, you can see that in the first image, there are a bunch of people who are in the office. They are wearing jeans. There is a computer in is a computer can also be seen. There is some furniture, right? So the image tagger has correctly identified all those tags and have added all those tags under image tags column. Right, next slide. So very similar to image tagging is taxonomy tagging that processes and finds the tags within the documents and then tags the documents with the found terms. The difference here is that it makes sure that the terms that it uses are predefined in your term store. So in the example here, you can see we have added a taxonomy column, which is text vendor. It is already looking at a term set in our term store. And then we added these two documents that you can see. And in these two documents, it has correctly identified the vendor, which is Contoso, and the other vendor, the Sonigen. Taxonomy tagging supports PDF, docx, and PPTX types of documents. The limitation here is that right now in a single document library, you can only configure up to 3 columns with taxonomy tagging. All right, so this brings me to the end of my part in this webinar, and I'll pass it off to Chad.
Thank you, Deepa. Yeah, thank you, Corey, too. You both crammed an awful lot of content into like 15, 16 minutes. And I've got even more to cram. So next slide, please. So governance in SharePoint Premium. There are challenges around content full stop. Certainly a lot of this has been brought to the fore as we all start to look at Copilot readiness and cleaning up our content, because garbage in equals garbage out applies to generative AI as much as it does to any other thing. So content sprawl is a problem. Too much content, too many places, not well managed. Content oversharing is our excellent use of those amazing collaboration tools that are provided for us, and then we go and overdo it a bit. And we overshare, and the permissions are a bit loose, and stuff gets out there, which is very closely related to content access. Are we sure that we have the right permission sets on things? Are we sure that content is locked down to the users who really need it? So there's some issues. Next slide, please. What do we do about those issues? Well, hello, SharePoint Advanced Management, or SAM to his mates or her mates. It will help you manage your governance. It will help you restrict access, and it will help you manage life cycles. Managing governance through awesome reporting, data access governance reports let you see what's going on, let you see who's sharing links. If they're oversharing, it will let you look at the sensitivity labels on files and how they're having an impact. The restrict access capabilities can actually go above and beyond your permissions and your groups and restrict access at the site level. But we can also secure a document library with a default label now. You can also restrict OneDrive content and service level access to OneDrive, because as we probably all know, OneDrive, the back end is SharePoint. And then finally, there's some cool new conditional access policies which work very closely with Entra ID to be able to set conditional access rules. When it comes to managing life cycles, we can add lifecycle now to sites, not just content within the sites. We've got even more reporting to help us keep an eye on things, so that create change history reports is very useful there. Reviewing changes to site properties as well. So who's been in and changed the site properties, and why did they do that, and should they be doing that? And then other policies to help you block downloads from SharePoint and OneDrive. Now, given the time, I had a few slides on each of these, but Prem, if you can jump forward to 56, which is some of the best practices and tips. And I apologize for not talking through these, but I think there we go, lovely. We do want to leave a few minutes at the end for any questions. So some basic tips and tricks. Look, as my friends have just told you about all the awesome tools that are part of SharePoint Premium, they all talk to me as a metadata nerd. So use your machine learning models to automate the processing of incoming documents. And what you do with the extracted data is put that in columns and generate lots of metadata. Because lots of metadata is great for many reasons, some of which are on the screen there. On the other side of things, content assembly features are great for generating bulk sets of documents that are the same. So if you've got to do your contract renewals, if you have to send out customer documents every quarter or every year, if you have to produce thousands of documents at the same time, content assembly is going to be super helpful. All these features can also help you discover insights from within the documents. So that machine learning processing isn't just useful for extracting data to use as metadata, it's useful for extracting data from which we can derive insights. We are freeing the content that's trapped within the documents to make it useful. So amazing things you can do with all the machine learning and other features within SharePoint Premium. And because of that, next slide, please. On June the 20th, we will be doing an almost full day hands-on workshop. So CreoSpark, we do a lot of in-a-day workshops. This will be our first SharePoint Premium in-a-day workshop. We will be touching on all the things you've seen today, except in great detail. So much detail that if you were to scan the QR code there and register, you will see that there are prerequisites that you need to have set up and ready to come and join this workshop. So you do need to have an environment in which you can work and undertake the labs that are part of this workshop. But all the bullet points on the screen there, it's going to be a full day. We're going to go into all of this in depth. You get to practice it. I think it'll be wonderful. This is based on what our MVPs, Eric and Rez, did at the M365 Community Conference, where it went down very well. So if you were those people in the poll who are thinking about this stuff and maybe just playing with it, come along and join us to have a deep dive and work through the labs and derive insights for yourself in how these tools can help you. All right, so at last we have a few minutes left for questions. So I don't know if it's my view. I don't see a whole bunch in the Q&A in GoToWebinar, but for everybody who's still watching, this is your chance. In my colloquial English, we would say, speak now or forever hold your peace.
There were a couple questions that did come in. They did get answered. So if people have more questions, so by all means, please do ask them. One of the things about the that workshop that's coming up, yeah, that was based on this work that we did, and I really do highly recommend it. It's free to attend and all that. The prerequisite is not that you need to be paying for this already. we need to help. You need to set up a basically a lab environment. We've got some approaches that don't cost anything, which is a big deal, of course, when you're just playing with something. But it's all about hands-on. It's all about actually touching what you just went through with some experts there.
Eric, I will dive on one. I think. Oh, there's no name. I can't see who. Joseph.
Awesome questions
Joseph
just came in.
Oh, we got another one. Go on then. Sorry.
Yeah, a bunch of them. Certificate of attendance for the workshop. Not that I'm for this seminar. No, not really. The money for the workshop, no. So we don't charge anything, and we have approaches to be able to get you basically trial tenants so that you can then play with SharePoint Premium without having to cover any cost of it. It's just, you can't use it for production or anything. You can basically just test with it a little bit. The eSig does not require any certificate manager for what Microsoft provides out of the box, but it does. You could actually connect with what Adobe Sign. You could connect with DocuSign and one other.
And I think there are more coming. Those are the two main ones, and I think there are going to be some more minor players added as part of roadmap.
Mm-hmm. And then one more question. So it's around SharePoint Premium and it's enabled. Do admins allow it at the site level or the library level? I'll let one of you answer that one.
It depends on the feature. So actually, most of them are site level, on or off. But then some of them you can actually, once you've turned it on, you can say only in these libraries. So it actually depends on which features. I don't know, Corey or Deepa, that I've seen a matrix anywhere in the Microsoft documentation. So I think they kind of leave you to figure it out yourself. Yeah. So there is no high-level diagram of that. But yeah, it depends on the feature.
I'm seeing another question about the all-day session, if it's free and all that you need is free. So if you scan that QR code, you will get access to instructions for how to set up the free trials and get into those. So I think we recommend doing it a couple of days before the workshop so you can kind of get the most use out of that free trial, and also to give yourself enough time for certain Azure bits to provision and get set up properly.
Yeah, good point. Prem, do you want to put your next slide up so that QR code is on the screen? We can keep answering any other questions that come in.
Previous slide, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. No, not that one. Your webinar survey giveaway QR code. Because we've got like 2 minutes left. So people might want to scan that. But I just wanted to go back while that is on screen to Joseph Ackerman's earlier question, I think, about PDFs being in unmutable. That's an interesting look at things. Of course, with the machine learning in SharePoint Premium and extracting lots of metadata, that metadata can help with records management. So if you're using Purview features and functionality, information lifecycle management, the more metadata you've got there that's extracted from the document can help you categorize the records correctly and things like that. So Joseph's comment just made me think of his use of the term immutable made me think records.
Awesome. I think all the questions and answers, our sessions is done. So thank you so much, guys, everybody. And so as you can see on the screen right now, to access the survey, simply scan the code on the right side on the screen. Your participation is directly contributed to the quality of our webinar, and also have a chance to win $50 Amazon gift card. Once again, thank you so much, everyone. And I'm gonna pass it off to Eric.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us.